Hi, hello. So, this channel has become a perpetual rant about cars and drivers, but I mean, everyone except me drives, so it's not like I'm beating a dead horse. This topic is relevant, and I guess I will beat it until it dies. So, scrolling through Facebook, as most of my rants begin, I ran across this. Don't pump gas on April 15th, 2022. Why didn't I comment on this back in April? Well, because that's when people were actually inspired by the post and would have gotten mad at me for pointing out how stupid it is and why. Hopefully, now we can all look at it and realize what a dumb idea this was without flinging passionate, thoughtless hate around at each other. I hope. I'll read the post out loud because it's probably pretty hard to read. Maybe they added the weird yellow and blue blots over the text so that AI wouldn't be able to read it. I don't know. The thought process on this whole scheme is a bit beyond me, really. So the post reads, don't pump gas on April 15th, 2022. If running low, just get your gas the day before on April 14th or the day after on April 16th. Every bit helps. In April 1997, there was a gas out conducted nationwide to protest gas prices. Gasoline prices dropped 30 cents a gallon overnight. On April 15th, 2022, all internet users are not to go to a gas station in protest of high gas prices. Gas is now over $1.20 a liter slash $3.87 in most places. If all users did not go to the pump on the 15th, it would take $2,292,000,000, that's almost $3 billion, out of the oil companies' pockets for just one day. So please do not go to the gas stations on April 15th, and let's try to put a dent in the Middle Eastern oil industry for at least a day. Okay, so a lot to unpack here. It's funny that they expect all quote-unquote internet users to participate, like that's not literally everyone on the planet. Also, personally not sure why they're wanting to fight Middle Eastern oil industry and not like just say oil industry in general. I guess some oil companies are fine depending on where they're based. A little racist sus, but we're not going to dwell on that. I think they specified just to sound a bit more pointed and smart. I am not going to fact check their claims that the gas out in 1997 worked. Facebook posts have a tendency to make history up for whatever the sake of their discussion is, but for the sake of this discussion, I'll just believe them. Fuck it. The post is pretty focused on the $3 billion blow to the gas industry, even though, the exaggeration that 2.29 billion isn't like 700 million away from that goal, and you should be rounding down, but, math is hard, I get it. More to the point, $3 billion divided among the various gas stations and corporations that supply gas probably isn't going to mean a thing to the numbers they see. There's no gas-giving overlord that looks at how well Shell versus Canadian Tire versus Esso versus Petro-Canada versus Husky versus Costco versus whoever the hell else's sales did that day. They're not comparing numbers with each other. Costco isn't leaning over to Shell and being like, hey, do you think we should care about this? I mean, stock market people keep up with that and care, but a sales dip is a dip, and the gears of industry will just keep turning. And now that I've roughly addressed all the probably inaccurate and oddly focused on points in this post, we can get to the meat of the situation and what I'd like to know, which is, what's the fucking point? What do you think this will accomplish? Even if there was a case study of this working in 1997, it's not going to work today. Why? Because we live in a society that's so utterly dependent and driven by gas. The gas industry isn't threatened. We're at a point where everyone has a gas car and depends on gas to get to work, to get food, to live. They have no incentive to drop gas prices because you're never actually going to boycott them and stop buying gas because you can't. Even within this one little hissy fit, the protesters still bought their gas. It was just on one day and not on the other. The gas industry literally lost no money over this in the end. They did not lose the $3 billion because you still bought the gas. Because owning a gas vehicle means that you will never not have to buy their gas, regardless of the price. This whole post, this whole supposed protest, is nothing more than people whining about gas prices and wanting them to go down because, pouty, it's just not fair. Now, I might sound like I'm kicking people while they're down because I rely on an electric vehicle already, but I'm not laughing at people's misfortune, actually. I think it's really shitty. It's really sad and fucked up that people are now struggling to live their lives because filling their car's gas tank is an expense that they can't afford, and having a car is a necessity to function. North American first world society has dug itself into an investment in individually owned gas vehicles, so deep that it's hard to fathom ever getting out of. But we have to believe that we can, and wasting energy and investment in schemes like this are just not the answer. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but gas prices are not going to go down again. Ever. Not just because gas companies have no incentive to bring their prices down when everyone that owns a gas car is a slave to their sweet, sweet fossil juice, but because there's only ever going to be less gas. The demand for gas might go down if we find alternative means of transportation, but the scarcity of gas itself will never get better. It's a non-renewable resource, for a reason, my guys. And wanting lower gas prices isn't how supply and demand works. Staging protests and complaining about gas prices doesn't better your situation, because even if you got lower gas prices for it, it wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't change the fact that gas is a disappearing resource, or that as long as we depend primarily on gas vehicles, people are going to have to keep buying it regardless of the cost. There are solutions like finding a genuine gas substitute, transitioning to electric vehicles, and creating a better infrastructure in our communities for public transportation so that the default in life isn't to require an individual vehicle to function. But rather than promote those things, work towards those things, people are getting butthurt about gas prices because they want things to go back to the way they used to be. They want to fill their gas tank and drive it too. Did that come across as a play on the have your cake and eat it too? Because that's what I was going for. People don't want to look at genuine solutions. They want to keep doing what they're doing because that is what they know, rather than accept the reality we're living in, adapt, and move on to something else. If you're struggling to live your life because of gas prices, I do genuinely sympathize with you. I am sorry that you're in this position. It's not any one person's fault that we're in this gas-dependent mess. We were raised into it. I've never even owned a car because the cost of getting one, insurance, maintenance, and gas are something I wasn't in a financial situation to come close to dealing with. Vehicles are a fucking trap. I know that as well as anyone, and I know other people haven't had enough of a choice to be able to avoid that trap. I just don't think complaining about the trap does anything when we all just keep sticking our foot in it. Lower gas prices might make the trap more bearable, but it doesn't get anyone out of it. If you see posts like this, support them if you want, but I just think that they're redundant, useless, and taking focus away from solutions that actually, could work or would actually change anything for the better. Our focus shouldn't be about making a shitty situation a little less shitty and therefore more sustainably shitty. It should be about promoting changes that make the situation unshit. I don't have all the answers. I'm just a person. I just want us all to be aware and pointing our finite little lives in directions that actually benefit ourselves. This isn't an electric car propaganda video. I'm just saying, on a logical level, doubling down on a system that already doesn't work by trying to force it to work seems like the definition of insanity. Let's try something different instead.